Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode.
Rolando and Nicole, we all have siblings here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You have siblings. And when you guys were living all together, have you guys experienced a sibling rivalry?
Yes.
Ooh, rivalry. I've experienced sibling discord and fighting. I don't know if it ever became a rivalry.
I think my sister was always under my shadow. So it was really hard on her.
Would you consider it a rivalry if I was like, Mom likes you best?
Okay, oh, that's the other thing. Favoritism. Sibling. Yeah. When one sibling is favored over the other by the parental units. So like me, I was like the only boy out of 5 sisters, right? In a Puerto Rican Catholic household. So when I was born, it was like, yes, I was number 4 in the line. So it was like, father was finally like, yes, I got my son. So there was a certain kind of favoritism I received growing up. Mm-hmm. And even to this day, my sisters are very much always complaining that I get a kind of like mom's favor over them. Things. So, but let's take this idea of sibling rivalry and why don't we add a little magic to it? So let's say you live in a world where magic exists and you and your brothers and sisters are wizards in training, but then you find out or you grew up in a world where only one sibling can inherit all the family magic and become the family wizard.
Which is an idiotic...
We'll get there. So only one will be the family wizard and have all the wizard power of the family. While the other siblings will lose their abilities, will lose their magical abilities, and live ordinary lives. And that is the premise of what we're going to cover today. A show that I actually really enjoyed watching with my nieces and nephews, Wizards of Waverly Place. And speaking about its revival, Beyond the Waverly Place.
Is it still Wizards or is it just Beyond Waverly?
I think it's
Wizards Beyond Waverly Place.
Yeah, Wizards Beyond
Waverly. Beyond Waverly means Staten Island to Disney. So
yes, according to the opening shots.
It is a far cry from where it would originally took place in Greenwich Village.
Mm-hmm.
So to start the magic out, I'm Eddie Z.
That's so weird having you started off, but yeah, you did the cold open, so this is on you.
Yeah.
I'm Rolando.
And I'm Nicole.
This is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality.
Oh, I love it. I switched it up. I used the magic spell and switched things around.
Yes, and I think that out of this family, the only one who got the magic powers, Eddie, might be you. So you're going to be bringing the magic for this episode. Because I lost my powers 100% when it comes to the magic in this one.
But Nicole, everything is not what it seems. So
right,
I'm sure, yeah. Yeah. Let's just also talk about the fact that, as stated many times on this podcast, I didn't grow up watching Disney Channel shows. So I didn't watch Hannah Montana. I didn't watch Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. You know, I didn't watch a lot of those different things. So this is very much like, I didn't watch High School Musical when it came out, okay?
I would never watch High School Musical.
Not about
that was not my life.
Yeah.
But Sweet Life of Zach and Cody was not a show that I watched, but I think my sister was watching it because my sister and I grew up during the Disney heyday. And, sometimes it would just be channels that you just kind of mindlessly go back to. And Disney used to be one of those for me and her. So I absorbed the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody through osmosis, really. But anytime we do one of these like Disney Channel original shows and series, like I always think back to like kind of the powerhouses that Disney produces that
Yeah.
like Nickelodeon could never. Like, let's be real. Like, Nickelodeon pales in comparison to the star power that Disney creates, because if we look at throughout history, we have, Jodie Foster, we have Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, right? Those are some of the older folks. But now, if you bring it into like even update a little more, what you have Hilary Duff, Raven Simone, then eventually Miley Cyrus and Selena
The
Carpenter.
twins. The twins from Zack and
twins.
Cody.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dylan and Cole Sprouse. Selena Gomez.
Haley Kiyoko.
Haley Kiyoko.
Yeah. Do you know who Haley Kiyoko is?
No, who's Haley Kiyoko?
I don't know. Haley Kiyoko is from... Babe, what is Haley Kiyoko from?
Lemonade.
Yeah, what Disney property? Yeah, we just know her as a queer woman, but yeah, it might have been that. Yeah.
That's
I think so.
First thing that comes up when you Google her, and usually the Disney Channel shows are the first ones that come up. And I think more recently, I guess like the biggest star that they have right now that they've most recently produced is Sabrina Carpenter, right? Just nominated for Grammys and stuff, right?
That's right.
She was from a show that we covered actually very early in our series, Girl Meets World. So Disney is still producing these like future stars, and that is, I don't know, a testament to Disney's like just great casting or understanding its audience. I don't know what we can give it up to, but yeah, you were more of a Nickelodeon girly, right?
I was, yeah. I mean, by the time Wizards of Waverly Place came out, I was about 19 years old, though, so I don't think I was watching either of those channels. But growing up, I was more so Doug, Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, and then eventually iCarly, Drake and Josh, those kind of shows, but not really.
And all those shows are marred.
I think the only major platform for like coming up with young and upcoming stars is Saturday Night Live. And Saturday Night Live isn't even like that great anymore in terms of comedy, but it's a stepping stone for people who are entering the comedy world, which is kind of what the Disney Channel shows provide people with. Whether or not they're good or not, they are the entry point into pop culture and movies and TV. So,
yeah, one thing I want to say actually now is thank God for Disney Channel or Disney Plus series. The Beyond Waverly, that's on Disney, or is it just Disney
Plus?
It is on Disney Plus, but is it on Disney Channel, Eddie?
Yes,
it's also Disney Channel. Yeah. I mean, it's like it's one of the few things that's trying to keep that multicam TV show art still alive, and I appreciate that because it is a dying art. I know we talked about Frasier last season, but season 2 is currently airing, and let me tell you, I'm so glad they figured out the formula because it is getting better and better each episode again. So I'm very happy about that, and I think Roz is becoming a regular, which makes me so happy. But anyway,
nice.
This is about
it's good to see Roz back.
Yeah. Oh, she's aged so well. Like it is
good
crazy.
Yeah. But this is not about Frasier. This is about Wizards of Waverly Place, something that Eddie really pushed for, So Eddie, this is your episode. I want you to take the reins, So kind of set us up. What is Wizards of Waverly Place? Give us a little background. You kind of set up the genuine premise of it very well. These family who has to keep their identities as wizards secret, and only one of them can attain their powers. But what else can you tell our listeners about this show?
Are they keeping it a secret? Because isn't the best friend? She knows this. She's a wizard.
Well, yeah. So 2 of the best friends of the siblings, Justin and Alex, do end up finding out by accident. And then they just become part of the family. At some point, Harper, which is Alex's best friend, ends up living with the Russos.
Got it.
For a couple of years.
So the main characters are the Russo kids, yes?
The Russo kids, yes. So it's part of the Russo family. They are a mixed cultural family, Mexican, American, and Italian. And their mom is Mexican and father Italian. And they have 3 kids. Alex, Justin, and Max. And we find out right away that there are wizards in training.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wizard family. We found out that their father is their teacher in this process of learning how to be wizards and preparing them for what's going to be the wizard competition, where the siblings will compete against each other for the title and power being the family wizard or the wizard. Yeah, family wizard. And then as the show progresses, we kind of get a little bit of the lore. We know that the father once was the family wizard, but he gave up his powers because he fell in love with a mortal woman, which is their mom. And according to wizard law, there's a lot of little laws here, a lot of rules and regulations, is that when a wizard falls in love with a mortal and they decide to stay together, that wizard has to give up his power to the next sibling that he chooses. Okay.
So he gives up his power.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was that their father gave up his powers to his younger brother, which we see later on. And
that's so interesting. I didn't realize that. So he didn't have powers throughout the show. He's just teaching them.
Yeah.
I guess that missed me while I was rewatching this. I'm just like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I did not notice until you just pointed it out.
Yeah, he had given up his powers, but he had all this knowledge. And they have what's called the family lair, and it seems it's like a little pocket room, a pocket space where they can practice their powers. You know, there's kind of like their where they can practice their powers, their potions, and it's also the portal has a doorway leading into what we learn as the wizard world.
Right.
So there's a whole nother layer, similar to Sabrina the Teenage Witch, when they refer to the other realm, where all the witches live. There is a wizard world where all magical creatures as well as wizards occupy.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? Because this is coming out in the aughts, right? The 2000s, late 2000s, right? But this is peak Harry Potter time, if I remember correctly, right?
Absolutely.
So you would think that this show would be ripping more so off Harry Potter, but actually, upon watching it, I'm just like, this is much more Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which is one of my, like, in retrospect, is one of my favorite portrayals of, like, witchcraft and, like, kind of the world beyond.
Witching society.
Yeah, like just like the other realm, as it's called, and the council that they have of the witches, who they're the ones who sentence Salem. Right? It's just so silly and whimsical. It makes no sense, that other world. And watching this show, it's just like, oh, this is exactly that. Like, the worlds make no sense.
Yeah, it's a wacky world, defies logic and reason sometimes,
which I appreciate more than like trying to be, or Harry Potter seems to be a little bit more as grounded as you can make a story about a wizard, right? Wizards and witches. So and it's interesting that's what they chose to go. They swerved much more into Sabrina the Teenage Witch than like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina ever did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And this was a sitcom format, right? So it had a laugh track. It was multicam, and they were just like, performing on set and whatnot. And your main cast were led by Selena Gomez, followed by David Henry, who played Justin, and Jake T. Austin playing Max. And the father is played by David DeLuise, who is Don DeLuise's son.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he's kind of like a snack, truly. Like, he's kind of like, he's very...
Rewatching this, and especially in the movie that they did, the Wizards of Waverly Place movie, I'm just like, damn, daddy.
Yeah, he's got like a look to him that is definitely... It appeals to a certain kind of gay guy. And yeah, he's very, very... There's something... He's like a bear. He's like a sloppy bear.
Now, should I know who any of these people outside of Selena Gomez are? Have they gone on to have careers that I'm just not aware of?
Well, David Henry is more... He is known to people, but not for good reasons, right? I think he went conservative, and I think he definitely got arrested for trying to bring a gun on a plane. And
Oh.
he was screaming about like Second Amendment rights being taken away from him because of he got arrested. So that would be why I know David Henry. I think the other reason, if you're a young gay man, probably know David Henry, is because like I think he famously wore like basketball shorts in an episode, and it was just like all penis, basically, just like bulge in your face, right?
Okay.
So that's how a lot of young gay men know David Henry, which is interesting for a conservative guy. So now, you know, we always talk about this when we talk about kids shows, like how much of that is intentional and how much of that is like
true,
like just accidental. And I don't know, like, you know, we watched that documentary about Nickelodeon shows, so I can't imagine that like it's that much different in Disney. I think Disney is just more guarded.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
Now I'm not, yeah, and I'm not trying, but like, you know, but keep in mind, like, he wasn't a child. He you know, when he was doing this, like, I think by the fourth season they all had such growth spurts that I'm pretty sure there were like gap years in between the productions, and they all just like were basically young adults playing teenagers. And yeah, like I remember this clips that David Henry go viral are just like him kind of like in a tank top or even shirtless and stuff, and he has like a man's body, but he's playing like, I don't know, a 16, 17-year-old boy, you know? Much like Justice Smith trying to play a 14-year-old child in I Saw the TV Glow.
All right, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Yeah, I know. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. All right, Rolando, I told you, ask me questions. I'll be able to.
Okay, question number 1. I know that Justin falls in love with a vampire. Is that breaking the rules of wizardry?
So wizards can fall in love, and have relationships with vampire and werewolves, but not mortals. So if the whole tension about them winning the competition was that if they would have lost their abilities and become mortal, they would have to break up with their love interests. It would have been against the law to continue their love interests. So.
Yeah. Which is interesting. But why are werewolves considered not mortals? Because werewolves, I think, live just as long as humans.
So
I'm asking you these things like you wrote the show.
Yeah.
But you know the show much better than I do.
So what I understand from lore is I don't know the lifespan. I know wizard lifespans are very long. I don't know the lifespan of the werewolves in this series, but what I do know is that wizards fall under magical creatures.
Okay. Those were like my main questions. I know that we have no answers to like why there can only be one wizard. Do you have? Is there a reason why there can only be one wizard per family?
Okay, so I was digging deep and I was like looking for little things on hints about what it could be. Some people say that a long time ago the wizards got into a big war, and this kind of wrecked things for humanity at one point. And after that experience, they realized that they should only the best among them should be able to wield this power too. And then later on, I actually saw this episode just recently. Professor Crumb, which is a wizard, the headmaster of one of their prestigious magical schools, WizTech, he told them that 3 siblings collaborating together are extremely powerful. And so that's another hint that if wizard brothers and sisters were to work together, like for evil, they can wreak havoc.
You know what's so interesting now that you're talking about this? That this is a Disney Channel show, and Disney very much is anti-union. And this is sounding very much like anti-union propaganda, being like, we cannot have more than one worker uniting. Okay, so like let's start breaking this up from childhood.
All right. So just to give a little bit more, so like the dynamics is really what makes this show very special. Let's just say is that, you know, Justin is the elder. He's the oldest. He is the one that's like follows the rules, has memorized so many spells. He is from ever since he started developing his abilities, studying to be a wizard, knows a lot. And Alex is kind of like the layback one. She's a little selfish. She's a little like into herself and kind of like uses her powers for like her own gain.
Yeah,
and
she was selfish.
She ends up getting into like these messes, but is within getting herself in these messes is that she ends up learning, having these lessons about family, about relationships, about magic, that you can see the progression of her growth from season 1 to kind of season 4 too. And then you have young Alex, who I feel got the short end of the stick, him being the youngest.
Not Alex.
Excuse
Alex
me,
is
Max. Excuse me, young Max, who got the short end of the stick because being the youngest, less time having the chance to study for the competition, and also he's kind of portrayed as not really the bright one. He's kind of like the comedy relief. He's like the jokester, never takes anything seriously and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just a combination of them three leads to interesting scenarios, as you see through one episode after another.
Yeah. I mean, the show
so
is...
how much of it is it Alex versus Justin, if you will?
There is definitely high sibling rivalry between those two. But not per se like versus, but more like Alex gets into a trouble and she says, Justin, can you help me out with this? And he's like, I told you so. You should have done this, but let me figure out what I can do. Or,
In the episodes that I've seen, like Alex, whenever she comes for help, like he will always like begrudgingly still help her, right?
Yes,
like despite the rivalry, this show
definitely big brother kind of
is like a big brother kind of love. It's not, I don't know, they're not like, well, even Stevens also had this kind of dynamic, right? Where it was like the older sibling cleans up the mess of the younger sibling, but they still love each other despite the fact that like older sibling has to come out and help. Oh, I forgot to mention, that's another big name, Shia LaBeouf of Disney Channel fame. But you know Shia LaBeouf was
Disney Channel fame. I thought you meant he was on the show.
No, I don't. I think he was already way off of the show. Did he have? Now, am I imagining this? Did they have a crossover with Hannah Montana?
I don't know. I thought it was Sweet Life.
Oh, maybe. I feel like there was a crossover with another Disney Channel. Now this show was actually massive, Nicole. I don't know if you don't know this, but like this show was huge. All right.
No, I know of the show.
Oh, no, that's just that. But I meant like it's a big deal because it's
it was. Excuse me. So
wow.
don't interrupt. So it was Wizards on Deck with Hannah Montana.
Oh, so all three of them had like a giant crossover.
Yeah,
that must have been a big TV event. This is Disney TV show heyday.
Yeah,
right here. So, but the reason this show was such a big deal though is because it was the first Disney Channel original show to surpass 3 seasons. Because up till that point, all Disney Channel shows were only contracted for 3 seasons only. That's right.
Why was that?
It was so popular. It was so
no,
popular.
No. Why were they only contracted for 3 seasons? Why was that Disney standard?
I think the Disney standard, it has mostly to do with working with child actors, just trying to produce as much content as they can in a short amount of time. Is like, I hate to say pump and dump, but that's basically what it's like, using the talent of these kids and then just dropping them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, it's like just ringing them of all their
and Hannah Montana as well went past, right? Hannah Montana went 4 seasons.
I think Hannah Montana only had a full 3 seasons, but I think they had a movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Hannah Montana only had the how many? Let's see, how many?
No, she had 4 seasons.
She also, all right.
Wait, did she have 5 seasons?
How many seasons did Hannah Montana have? It ran for 4 seasons also. Yeah, that's another one. Okay. Yeah, so these are just 2 of their big so it was women who broke that glass ceiling for Disney. Disney said it's just like more seasons for you young ladies. But these shows, I mean, look, they were just like these 2. I mean, let's be real. Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez became, as a result of these shows, like household names. Like, yeah, like they had music careers afterwards, but like they would be nowhere without Disney Channel. And these are 2 starlets that have not turned their back on Disney Channel, right? Because Miley Cyrus will play, what's it called? I think she keeps referring back to her roots as Hannah Montana, right? She has never like denied it, which is something interesting because like she's like a bona fide pop star now. She doesn't need to like harken back to like Party in the USA days, but she does. And Selena Gomez, she's a billionaire. She is a straight up billionaire now. She doesn't need to go to the Disney teat, but she's able to work it out and comes back for Wizards Beyond Waverly, right? So I find it interesting that these 2 young ladies are still very much like I guess, connected to that fan base and have like a respect to the fans that like grew up with them, because like they did, like their fan base is huge, and a great deal of their fans comes from the Wizards of Waverly Place. I just want to point out the other, this show also has won an Emmy before, so it's not just it wasn't just like a popular kids show. It actually was like an actual good show. And I think more importantly, at least for me, granted I wasn't watching the show, but like it's nice to know that I feel like Selena Gomez, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's like our first like Latina star, not like actress that had a lead, but like she was like the first Latina star that Disney was able to produce. Is that right or wrong? Unless anyone can think of anyone else?
No, I think you're right about that. Although, how much is this identity, put to play in Wizards of Waverly Place? Is she just simply someone you can tell because it's a mixed family, as you said, Mexican, Italian?
I feel like it kind of plays. It's not like in every storyline, but like their identity as like being half Mexican does come into play in the story, like in the show regularly. Like the fact that she is Spanish. Do they speak like Spanglish every now and then?
Yes,
her mother, right?
The mother does
more
to
so.
them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I thought they were Puerto Rican because I know the movie takes place in Puerto Rico, right? The Wizards of Waverly Place movie. I thought the reason it took place in Puerto Rico was because like they're Puerto Rican. So I didn't know. Very recently,
it's a natural assumption. Natural, yeah. And identity seems to be a big part of this show, whether or not it's the fact that they're Latina or the fact that they're secret. They have to live in secret, much like Hannah Montana, which, even though I didn't watch, that's a person who's a pop star who is also secretly living a normal life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 shows about having extraordinary circumstances and choosing to be normal, which is very interesting that Disney kind of always comes back to that. What about Sweet Life? Is there some sort of like, trying to attain normalcy as the ultimate goal in life? Like,
well, they live in a hotel.
So, there you go. So what do you think about kind of this Disney thing where it's like, hey, even if you're a friggin' wizard with magical powers, even if you're a pop star, the ultimate goal is to blend in?
Well, it's so interesting that you bring this up because this is something that I do teach in my media and American society class when we talk about culture industry, specifically Hannah Montana, right? Like, what is the message of Hannah Montana? And you're right, this whole idea of normalcy, but like, what is normal to her is that country living. It's like kind of like that idea of like that old Americana. And obviously, and we know this now from like our most recent election, right? Like there is this crazy desire to go back to those days of like white America and like conservatism. And as scary as it is, I'm not saying that it's Disney's fault, right? But like I will say like Disney may have a hand to play in this in retrospect.
I mean,
of this
these
idea
shows
of chasing
raised
normal
people, who have currently voted, but it's all media. I mean, ever since The Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home. Boring ass Kansas compared to flamboyant, wonderful, colorful Oz. So I do think that, maybe we won't blame Disney, but media portrayals of this idea of like, what is the goal in life? What does every young child want is kind of important. And especially because this is for children.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, no, it's true, 100%. And like I said, it's something that I've brought up into my class before, and we've talked about it because Hannah Montana, I think, is a more fascinating one because, like, obviously, it's that country lifestyle and stuff. It's like very, very, like, she's like in ranches by the movie and stuff, like galloping on her horses.
Yeah. This one's different. They work in the service industry, correct?
They work in the service, so they own a restaurant and they live in New York City. See, this one's a little bit more interesting, right? Of course, the Latino ones live in New York City, right? Like,
seriously,
I'm surprised they make it Miami. But,
although, did they do their research? Because in Waverly Place, really, like they they work in service in Waverly Place, right off of Christopher Street. My God!
Although I thought for the longest time that Waverly Place was Jersey City, because I didn't know there was a Waverly Place in New York. I know Waverly in Jersey City.
Yes.
I know Waverly in Jersey City. Yeah,
I just drove past it with Eddie. I'm like, isn't this where they base Wizards on? And he's just like, what? Like I was a crazy person. To which my response is just
Yeah.
like, I feel like the Jersey City Waverly looks more so like what they based it off of than New York City, in my opinion.
True.
Because like this is the funny thing, and this is why I love like multicam sitcoms, like where they're building sets, they just do not look like anything in reality. Like New York City just does not look like this. Like these cobblestone like steps of streets and shops and stuff. It's just in what part of New York are we in?
I also read that some of the critiques of the show, just because, of course, critiques are necessary, but one of them was that the show had a lot of contradictory messages. That there were never really proper consequences for these children who abuse their magical powers. And a really interesting one that I read was that their magical powers are pretty much their form of privilege, that these kids are privileged.
Oh.
And so lack of consequence for people abusing their privilege is a concern, right? So I don't know. Again, I watched not many. You guys have spent more time with us and stuff. Like, what do you...
No, it's fine. You don't
less than 5.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's, I mean, if you did one per season, that's like acceptable.
Yeah, I kind of like, dabbled around and stuff. I saw how it ended, so I know that much. Okay. I know that there was an episode where she had a quinceañera, which, I was like, that's cool. But yeah, so what do you guys think about that too? Like, the example that they're setting too about the fact, because now let's fast forward to 2024, all these years later. People could do whatever the hell they want and there's no consequences, even in the political realm, it seems. So
most certainly the political realm.
Especially in the political realm.
Yeah. Like just
no matter what side of the party you're on at this point too.
That's an interesting critique. I can't say that I had necessarily thought of it, but in retrospect, I understand where it's coming from, right? But that's, I don't know. At the same time, there's also like this idea of escapism, which I don't know. Like, I mean, Disney Channel does not have to like teach education, right? Like it doesn't. So whatever.
Okay. But
Go. No. But I do. I guess I do see what you're talking about because like I saw one of the episodes where it was like the youngest brother. He just unleashed all sorts of monsters into New York City, and the two older siblings had to kind of clean up this mess and stuff. And of course, they have magic, so they can clean it up. And the youngest brother didn't. He went unpunished. You're right. Like he didn't get punished. It was just kind of like everything. It's a sitcom. Everything goes back to normal by the end of the day. And unlike a sitcom that would have aired in the 90s and like like Family Matters, where there's like a lesson that you kind of learn at the end, or like Full House, you're right. I'm like sometimes these lessons tend to be more so about character, but less so about, I don't know, like punishment, like about this. It's less about. It's more so about like learning something about yourself, but not necessarily learning something about like society as a whole, or like how we should behave. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie. I mean, you've seen way more of these than I have.
Yeah, I mean, it is really kind of simple in that sense. They're more. It's more like making a mess and then fixing up, like the undo spell. We undo everything, all the mess that we did, and. I mean, the only messages you always kind of get is either the being unique, friendship, family first.
That's true.
And also, I mean, the underlying thing here too is that the possibility that once all is said and done and the family wizard is chosen, these kids may hate each other. They may be so jealous that they've lost their abilities and their brother or sister has gotten them. So there's always this kind of tension of like one day, these come up in different episodes, is like one day they may be faced with, that sibling fight, and they won't be close anymore. Yeah, they won't recover for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it happened to the father. He's lost his brother and sister.
Which is so interesting that this is the lesson that Disney is espousing here, being like, you will get one day in a giant fight with your sibling and you will not recover.
Yeah,
that's let me tell you that's a possibility. That is a possibility, especially people who are dealing now, not trying to get political, but people are dealing now with their siblings who voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
and just like saying, I don't know if I can be with this anymore, so.
Yeah.
But
I just want to respond to Rolando's comment about escapism. I do think that a lot of times it's even more important to dissect things that are labeled as escapism, because then we're subconsciously digesting whatever is presented in front of us there. And when you're not actually having an intellectual discussion about the things that you've seen, then it really kind of takes place in your body and it really settles in there.
Yeah.
Whereas like we're so accustomed to intellectually analyzing things that aren't escapism, but escapism will still impact us. And also to forgive something and be, oh, it's just for fun, it's just for escapism. It's kind of a cop-out because everything is sending a message, everything. Whether or not it knows it is or not, whether it's smart enough to realize the messages that it's sending. So, which is also why I just wanted to talk about that. Because again, especially for children, because this is the impression that they get. That's just in response to the whole escapism, and that's always been my take on it, but not necessarily coming for the show.
I mean,
one that I'm just not familiar with at the end of the day as much.
I mean,
so.
I kind of have, it might have been just from Tuesdays, but I kind of have decided it's just like, I mean, the American public is pretty stupid at this point. So like, I don't know. like it's just like our brains are already melted. So
but it's probably because we're just looking at something like this and being like, it's just escapism fun, but it's actually more than that. And, like, people have such emotional ties to the things that they watch, especially when they were younger, and not realize, a lot of people don't even realize how it helps take shape on them. I mean, Harry Potter has helped shape so many young people to the point where now people are kind of like having a hard time with the fact that, Harry Potter isn't the best thing to be a fan of anymore. Like they're having a hard time coming to terms with that, because it's the sense of a deep betrayal.
I'm curious to know about how many of these Harry Potter fans voted for the real Voldemort here during this election. This is what I'm like more fascinated, I guess, about like post this election. It's just like how many of us say it's just like we would be in the Rebel Alliance and then go fucking give their country to fucking Darth Vader. How many of us say we will stand with Katniss and then go off and vote, being like, but I'm going to be with President Snow, right? Like it's just like this is what I'm finding more fascinating here. This at least in this guys, I'm a little bitter right now. So FYI. In case you guys couldn't tell, sorry.
Yes, this is our episode right after the 2024 election for future listeners. So,
that's true. Yeah.
Shall we transition to? Should we go beyond now?
To Beyond? Well, yes, we can transition now to Beyond Waverly Place, right? Because I think to your point about this idea of mindless escapism, where yes, I said that like I don't know. I guess like for me, when I'm thinking of like the kind of content that my children are going to consume, I guess I'm going to divide it up. I had 2 points of thoughts, right? There is going to be the content that I will deem, this is going to be like good for you. This is like educational. Hopefully you'll learn something from it. And this is going to be something that you can take something out of. And then there's going to be the fun stuff where it'd be like, we'll just have this on the background and stuff, or we'll watch this together, have a little bit of fun. And this is where I think Wizards of Waverly Place would fall for me, something more so in that fun content, right? But I think you're right, Nicole. Yes, that doesn't mean that it should be not critiqued and stuff. And it does have interesting place about like what does that say about us? Like when we just like are just mindlessly just like devouring this stuff. And more importantly, what does it say about the company when they decide it's just like, okay, enough time has passed, let's go revisit this property and repackage this and give this to a new generation. And what does that repackaging look like? So Wizards Beyond Waverly Place.
Before we get there. So just so we know, spoiler alert, but Alex does end up winning the competition, the wizard competition. And Justin gets to keep his powers because he is given the job as headmaster WizTech.
Mm-hmm.
Max loses his abilities, but ends up inheriting the sandwich shop, the family business.
Damn, he got dicked over.
And that's kind of like how we end.
And the series, right? Like series, Alex is the new supreme.
She's a family wizard.
Interesting that like, Alex was always the main character right? So it makes sense that she would be the one to earn the powers. But I don't know. Justin was a more studious one. He was the one who should have been more prepared. But that's how the cookie crumbles. Wizards of Waverly Place. So Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. It was announced in January 18th, 2024, that Disney had ordered a pilot for a sequel television series, The Wizards of Waverly Place. And millennials, is that the target audience here, or Gen Z?
Gee, both in a weird way.
Yeah, like I guess
Now,
that cusp.
Selena Gomez, is she like, do the Gen Zers love Selena Gomez?
I don't know. She was at one point, and I think she has like, I think the top 5 like most follow. She's in the top 5 or top 10 most followed Instagram stars, and she has $1 billion because of her makeup. I don't know who is her audience, if it's millennials or is it Gen Z.
Yeah, because now her big thing is Only Murders in the Building, which do Gen Z like? I don't know.
I love it. I haven't finished this most recent season.
Well, yeah, but you're not Gen Z. You're older millennial.
I am in spirit Gen Alpha. What are you talking
about? She's also in Emilia Perez, which I really am looking forward to seeing.
What's that?
You don't know about that?
No. What's Emilia?
It's a brand new film. It's a musical about a trans woman. And it's French. It's about, I think,
this sounds
French, even though it's Mexican. Seriously, I mean, was this film not written for me? A Mexican lawyer is offered an unusual job to help a notorious cartel boss retire and transition into living as a woman, fulfilling a long-held desire.
Is she the Mexican lawyer?
She might be. Look it up, and it comes out on Netflix tomorrow. So I was actually
today
really hoping you would pick it as your. That's true, yeah. I was hoping you'd pick it as your movie club pick, but you don't even know about it. So
I hadn't even know. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. So,
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So anyway,
that's crazy that the show was announced in January of this year. That it was like picked up, that they ordered the pilot, and it was developed by the same pair that developed Raven's Home. So that's the sequel to That's So Raven, which we never covered. I guess we are racist people because, like, first of all, I love That's So Raven. So like I'm glad that like Raven's Home found success. You don't like That's So Raven? You don't like Seeing Into the Future?
Are you talking to me? Have I not made it clear I did not watch Disney Channel shows?
I can't believe Nicole, but yeah, because Nicole, you made like the biggest face of just like another fucking Disney show. What?
I'm just like, you're just speaking words at this point. My significant other wanted to do references to Cheetah Girls when we were in Barcelona. I'm like, why? How does that make sense?
But they went on a tour.
Yeah, they went on tour.
I know this now. I'm clueless. I'm sorry.
I swear. Anyway, yeah, so the pilot was actually filmed in February 1st. And Selena Gomez, she reprised her role as Alex. And David Henry, he was tapped to be, Justin, and he's a regular on the show. And there's a reason why he's a regular, and not Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez is, as you mentioned, other projects. He's also a billionaire and just like, I don't need this, but I will come back. I will honor the show with my presence for like one episode, maybe a second. We'll see. And yeah, it was nice seeing Alex in the pilot episode, to be quite honest. And what else? I mean, what else is there?
And so pretty much the plot is that Justin, he's living a normal life in Staten fucking Island with his wife. He has 2 sons, Billy and Roman. And Alex just bursts in one day, being like, hey, by the way, hey, look at me, like the headmaster at WizTech. I need you to like take this girl. What is her name? Milo?
Is Milo?
I think it's Milo, or I think so, or I can't remember what her name is. No, Billy. She's Billy. The sons' names are Roman and Milo. I need you to take this girl, Billy, and I need you to revive your magical skills in order to mentor her, and then I'm going to peace out. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like now him, because he's doing the whole shtick from the first one, which is balancing his normal life and his magical abilities because his family doesn't know about it. Now his 2 sons are finding out about it, so now they get to balance it with him. But now he has to grapple with his own failure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that he addresses within the first episode, that he's not Alex. There was like this whole relationship dynamic that they had in Simple Rivalry, and he lost.
Mm-hmm.
And now he has to reharness all of that energy again. So that's an interesting component that they, brought into this. I don't know how much it plays into the other episodes, but, it does kind of deal with like, yeah, your life's kind of not maybe the way that you thought it would be, even though he's happy, he loves his wife and all this stuff, but like still.
His wife,
And
still Staten Island.
yes. And also living, a secret existence from them. So, metaphor for being secretly queer. Yes.
You know what? Yeah, I guess Billy comes into our lives and just like starts exposing us to the queerness that is wizardry.
All the things I've kept inside of me. Yeah.
Yes. Interesting read. But I do want to point out that, like, I don't know if David Henry would have done this if it was any queer under reading in the show whatsoever. That's just my take.
Yeah.
Because I happen to... So he is currently having, like, a Twitter beef with... He's having a Twitter beef with, like, another former actor from Wizards of Waverly Place because this actor was not asked to come back. Why was he not asked to come back? Well... He's an OnlyFans star now, and he has been very, very upfront about the fact that he's an OnlyFans star because the royalties paid out by Disney for shows is just like pennies. So we know Selena Gomez is not a billionaire because of the royalties she gets from Wizards of Waverly Place. And I'm sure David Henry
which person is
not
this?
either. What's his name? His name is... He played Zeke in...
the best friend.
The first one? Okay.
Zeke in Wizards of Waverly Place. He is played by... Is the character Zeke Beakerman, played by... Is there someone who's... Oh, Dan Benson. So Dan Benson is now an OnlyFans star. Yeah, he got in like a big Twitter like public spat with David Henry because David Henry kind of like, dismissed an OnlyFans star, which is sex work and stuff. And a lot of people obviously kind of were just like, you shouldn't be talking about sex workers that way. And it's true. And it's
true,
OnlyFans.
yeah.
It's porn. You know what I mean? Like, what's worse, porn or Disney Channel original shows? It's like, what's worse? What is worse for society?
That is quite the fucking question right there.
Someone write me a thesis paper on that. Right?
So I'm intrigued. What did you guys think about Wizards Beyond Waverly Place?
I'll go because my opinions are not as substantial as Eddie because Eddie has an actual burning passion for the show. Where this was just things that I just knew about and I had not necessarily like been the biggest fan of. Not that I wasn't a fan, but it wasn't it wasn't my pop culture digest. Yeah. I actually found myself saying, okay, I like that we're going back to the multicam look of these TV shows. And I was just like, okay, thank God for like this medium still like existing here because like it's something that like we really are just not seeing anymore on television at all.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see Alex return, and I think it's also really cool knowing that like some of these episodes in this series are being directed by like former childhood, actors. Danielle Fishel, for example, and Raven Simone. They have directed episodes for this series. Outside of that, I do think I know I'm not the target audience, so it's just like, okay, I don't know if this show, I know it's not for me, but it's hard for me to figure out if the writing is worse than the original one because somehow, some way, when I was rewatching the original ones, it didn't feel as like cornballish as like this does. Besides the fact that like I know the jokes are very, very similar, right? Like the jokes are very like incredibly similar. So I don't know why this one feels a little bit cheesier. It could be the performances from the child actors, like I don't know. Selena Gomez just has like an it factor.
She does.
That I don't know if our main actress here, played by Janice Leanne Brown, has or hasn't developed yet, right? Sometimes these things take time. So, and the other thing is I'm kind of not necessarily caring for is similar to with Girl Meets World, where we have such an important character from the original series as a background character. sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. Like that when Corey is in the background and we're not following him, it's just like me as the adults is like, well, I want to know more about Corey. I don't care so much about these little kids. But this show is about the little kids. It's not about Corey Matthews, right? Same
It's
with
the
this.
next gen.
This is not this is not a show about Justin. Yeah, it's about Justin figuring out like his new role as like an instructor for this girl. But the show really follows her and like her new friends, her, you know, who are the two siblings, child of Justin. I want to point out, and Eddie, I'm going to let you talk about this, right? But you did point out something that like caught me afterwards, which is just like the first 2 episodes really focus on like keeping a secret from your wife and like how Disney's kind of just saying it's just like this is what you should do, kids. Like hide secrets from your spouse. Because the whole first 2 episodes revolve around the fact that he's trying to hide the fact that he's a wizard from his wife. And it's just like, you're right. That is kind of a messed up message to be giving little kids. So Eddie, I'll let you talk about that a little, and you can give us your thoughts on the show overall.
Oh my God. Okay. So, I mean, this definitely is like, we meet Justin almost like Luke Skywalker at like kind of a low point almost in his magical life.
In the new trilogy, you're talking about.
So he's like in the new trilogy there. So, so Justin was the headmaster of WizTech. He's the youngest headmaster. He was celebrated. And then something happened, which was called the unicorn incident. And he got fired. Right. All right. He gets fired from WizTech. Right. And then, of course, I'm like, this has to have, the rules still have to apply, right? But he still has magic. But because of this trauma of failure that he experienced, Justin has walked away from magic. Even though he still has his abilities, he put his wand away and he stopped using magic. He falls in love with a mortal and has kids and has decided to keep all that a secret, like not tell anybody. A secret. His kids don't seem to have his magical talent. None of them have the magical ability. Nothing has been said 100% sure why. There was a reference to that sometimes it skips a generation, but I don't really go with that. I don't believe that, but they made a mention of that. And now Alex, who was once, this rebel, kind of selfish, know-it-all wizard, has now appeared to him with this assignment to help protect this girl there's a prophecy that she is going to face a great darkness and save all of humanity because she is extremely powerful. She's extremely talented. She has a lot of power, but kind of no discipline at all. Similar to Alex, she's kind of like, Billy's like, she just takes everything as a joke. She makes these little pranks. She caused all this trouble. She's been kicked out of all these magic schools. And now Alex says, this is your last hope. Because if you fail here, they're going to take your wand away, which I assume that means they're going to take your magic away. And Billy's left with like living with the new Russos, the next generation, and trying to navigate her powers and this prophecy, which I think I kind of forgot whether she knows about it, but this prophecy that she one day will have to face some great evil.
Yeah, they kind of turned it into like a chosen one kind of thing, which I think is a little annoying. And I as you're talking about it, I'm realizing what it is about Billy that I'm not vibing with. And it is that Selena Gomez's Alex was selfish, sure, bratty at times, sure, but she was never overly confident in her abilities. In fact, she was always very much self-doubting in her abilities. She was learning how to use them. Billy is quite the opposite. Billy is much more self-assured and like she almost knows she's super powerful, right? And I feel like that just, I don't know, kind of turns me off to the character a little bit, to be honest. Like it's just like, it's a it's an annoying trait.
So the interesting thing about Alex too, that she grows up to be like, she's a very powerful wizard, and she's also part of the tribunal. So she's literally now kind of like a magic police officer. Like she works for the department that deals with wizard law and keeping wizard rules in order, right? So that's kind of like a change from her. And so this is my gripe. All right, one, I was a little annoyed of the fact that Justin kept this from his wife. Like I'm like, this is really, really such a big aspect of yourself and who you are. And also, this is your family because you're like your sister is still a wizard and your father used to be a wizard. Like, like you kept all this and there's a wizard world out there and you're like, you've kept that. And also too, what's another gripe that I have? And this whole thing of like the kids not having abilities. And also that the kids are cool once they find out their father is a wizard, that they're cool, that they don't have magic. And I believe that's not possible. I believe that is totally improbable that all of a sudden I find out that dad has magic. I don't have it. And also, not only that, but gets rubbed in my face that he's teaching somebody who's my age how to be a wizard. And I can't be part of that world.
Yes, the equivalent of this would be if I found out that my parents were at one point billionaires and now we are not. And I'm just like, what? I would be livid. I would just, I don't know.
And I don't understand why his wife looks so much like Harper from the original.
Oh, you know, series. It's so funny. Yeah, I to realize that, but you're right. She does. She's
just like,
which just makes you wonder. It's just like, I wonder maybe they intended for her to be Harper, and then the actress just didn't come back.
Harper, and so I watched it because I knew this was part of the podcast. I was interested in watching it to see where the story would go. I'm not a big fan of the writing of this. I think some of it is kind of, I'm not the target audience. I'm definitely far from being the target audience. But look, going back to the original Waverly, I actually thought these were little clever stories. Selena Gomez, David Henry, they all had like, there's a chemistry. There's like, they were good actors. And they really, I feel like they made it interesting. The silly story interesting. But this other thing, I feel like the writing is just like so like
just but silly. I will say hang on. I want to also just point this out though, because Wizards of Waverly Place, not that the success of it solely was on like the family dynamic, but having David DeLuise was a good foil for the kids, and he was a good adult actor to bounce off of the children. I don't think this show has that. Both the lady who plays Giada, the wife, and David Henry are just not good. It's just, they're reading bad lines, right? And that hurts. But like David DeLuise, he was working on like corny material too, but he still made it work, right? And I think that's sort of the problem is like David as like the actor, he's not necessarily, I don't know if he has the chutzpah anymore to kind of carry this show. And he's not carrying the show, right? The show's technically being carried by the new actress and the new kids, but like I don't think they have the chutzpah either to carry this show. Is what I'm realizing is kind of where this show is kind of, for me, feels a little bit uneven. But again, we know we're not the target audience. Nicole, what are your thoughts so far? Like you saw hopefully like a little bit of the show and stuff. What do you think? No, we know not your cup of tea.
One last thing though, I can say the thing that they are missing an opportunity is that Billy is almost an immigrant story because she's not from the mortal world. She's from the wizard world, born and raised. So everything that she's experiencing of the mortal world is like kind of brand new for her.
A fish out of water story.
Yeah.
Right. But she's so cocky that it kind of like diminishes that story a little bit.
But I wonder if it's just a defense mechanism of her being a stranger in a strange land.
Because I think you're right. Maybe a fish out of water story would be kind of something more interesting in this show. But I don't know. Nicole, what are your thoughts? We've been so quiet this episode.
Yeah. Sorry, this is just not it for me. It's interesting to see Selena Gomez in this way because someone who didn't grow up with her and kind of only knew her from music and really kind of becoming familiar with her deadpan delivery and Only Murders in the Building, seeing her kind of go back to her acting style was unique because in the first show, I mean, she's like doing Jennifer Aniston is what I read, that she was going for a more Jennifer Aniston, very, flamboyant, overacting type of style.
How dare you say that about Jennifer Aniston?
Rachel's one of my favorite characters in Friends, so that's a good thing because it calls for it. This isn't reality. This is heightened reality, so everything should be heightened.
Plus, it's like and multicam sitcoms have to be much like that stage kind of feeling, right? Where you want to like kind of have a little bit more exaggerated feelings, right?
Yeah, and I think that her to get back to that energy, but still maintain who she is, and that really dead voice works for her. Outside of that, I didn't really enjoy it. I think the humor overall is incredibly repetitive for my taste. And the style is dated. We've talked about this on other things, like that type of sitcom, the multi-camera setup with the fake laugh track and stuff, and the type of like humor that these kind of shows have is not something that I think works anymore, other than a nostalgia. And but
it's not even giving me the nostalgia like the way that Girl Meets World gave me, or the iCarly, kind of reconnecting with the old lore and coming back to that. This has really front and centered the kids, which is totally appropriate, totally but at the same time too, I feel like the spark that was the original Waverly Place is just not there for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like that magic touch is missing a little bit. Like the show looks better. I'll admit that. Like, but the pun wasn't intended. But it just wasn't. I don't know.
You guys have not said anything about my wand. I've been like flaring it all up.
Oh my god, is that what that was?
What do you think the hell this is? Yeah. What do you think? What do you think this curved stick is?
I thought it was something I was going to have to blur out on cam.
There's no video that's getting posted, is there?
Maybe. We'll see. Now
maybe. Okay. All right. That is a very nice wand, Eddie. Did you get that in Florida?
No, this is not a Harry Potter wand. This is a friend of ours made this wand. He makes wands. He has a business called Black Wand Company, I think. And these are one of the first wands that he made. So.
Yes, I have.
That's pretty cool. It's a very nice
unicorn one.
This is Rolando's one, like the unicorn horn.
Nice, very nice. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's the other thing too. I was like, they use wand a lot. First of all, Harry Potter exists in this world. They make a reference to Harry Potter. Right? Yes. So Harry Potter exists in this world. This is why I believe these kids are bullshitting when they say, "Oh, I don't care about magic. I don't care about that."
But they're little kids. Do the little kids still care about Harry Potter?
No. Everybody still cares. That's what. So I lost my train of thought. But so all right. So they only seem to be using wands in this new series, right? So every spell has to be done with wand, and then if they don't have their wand, they can't do it, right? The original had both what's called hand magic and wand. Wand magic, when you use your wand, the spells are a little stronger, depending on the wand too. The better the wand, the more stronger the spell. But usually you could get around with a lot of hand magic, just like flickering your fingers, point there, cast a spell, and pow. But here it's just like wand. And I'm like, what's this all about? Like
you just need continuity all the time, always.
I do.
That is just you. I'm telling you, kids don't care about continuity.
I know.
This is true. This is very true.
Yeah, I for this podcast I went like crazy. I was just like I targeted certain episodes that would give me a little bit of lore, and especially I saw them. I rewatched the movie that came out 2009, I think, and had a whole bunch of like lore here, and I'm just like, yeah, this is why they use wands. This is when they need hand magic, and I was obsessed. But.
You really like the show. Now, you used to watch this with your kids. Was that just the excuse?
Well, not my kids.
With your nieces and nephews, right?
Other people's kids. Yeah, I would take. They would just put it on. They would have it on and stuff like that, and then we would just like watch like marathon episodes
Yeah, because Disney was notorious for just giving you marathons.
Yeah,
of
so
these
we were
shows.
just kind of like this is like, oh, this is like very cute, you know. And you know, it's about magic, so you know, definitely it's kind of my cup of tea.
Would you eat it up? Now, the big
Yeah.
question that I have for you then, Eddie, since you're the real fan of the show out of the three of us here, is the Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. If you had children to watch this with and you weren't watching this for the podcast, would you continue to watch this with said kids?
Yes, and I also have a group of kids. I would have an audience to complain to on why this is not your daddy's Waverly Place. So,
what about you, Rolando? Would you?
Probably not. I don't think this was much like iCarly is not one of those shows where it's just like I continue. It's just like I saw what I needed to see, and I was just like, I've seen enough, I think, of this. Yeah. It was, I will agree with you, Nicole. It was actually nice to see Selena Gomez return as Alex. I don't know why, because I didn't grow up with her, but it was just like, I guess there was just something about her delivery as just Alex and kind of being, there was just those moments of where she says just like, oh my God, I'm like my parents now. Like, you know what I mean? Like under her breath, wearing that like kind of that hushed voice. And it's just like, yeah, I see this for Alex. I could see this being your future. Like now that you're responsible. So like realizing like, oh my God, who am I even anymore? You know what I mean?
Selena Gomez speaks very highly of her experience
that's good
in Waverly Place and the cast members there and still connects with them too. Fun fact, did you know that Alex Russo was originally slated to be a bisexual character?
I don't believe that for 1 second. Who said?
According to the original show, look it up. According to the original showrunner, he said in that podcast that Toluca and Stone, the actress that used to play Harper,
DeLuise and Stone.
Stone.
They have a podcast together.
They have the rewatch.
Yeah.
Where they had the showrunner, they interviewed him and he spoke about that there was this, he created the Alex character to be bisexual and that there was a possibility that she would have a love interest, which is a character, another wizard in training that they introduce on the show named Stevie. And her and Stevie, there was this possibility that they would have this kind of chemistry that would lead to something more.
Interesting.
According Disney said no, of course. Disney said no.
Picked it up and said, yeah.
Disney was just like, Disney was in the meeting. I can imagine to be like, you have 3 minutes to erase this shit or you have no job. Get the fuck out of our office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Haha, hilarious.
Well, guys, it's the time we turn it over to you. What do you think? And then you insert my rambles that I've done many times before. Yes.
Just like I did. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right. Well, that about does it for another one of this remakes, reboots, and revivals. Mm-hmm. In 2 weeks, we will be coming back to tackle the 2 big winter releases, Wicked and Gladiator 2.
Oh my God! Are we really? This is it. Like we're entering the tail end of our year. Those are 2 big, very different movies to be ending on.
Yeah, right? It's this year's Barbenheimer, if you will. Mm-hmm. So
there will never be another.
I'm excited for one of them. Yeah, will never be. No.
Wait, which
I'm
one?
excited for one of them. Which? Come on.
Wicked.
Oh,
thank you, Eddie.
I thought that was
Eddie knows me.
Okay.
I am not excited for Wicked.
I'm dressing up.
Oh, so I'm dressing up too. I'll dress up. Yeah. Should we all go together? What are you dressing up? I'm not gonna paint my face green, but I was gonna wear my black cloak.
I got early access tickets, so I'm going early.
Oh, how fun! How'd you get early access tickets?
AMC A-list.
Oh. No,
yeah, so I'm going with my sister because we saw the musical together when I was 14, so we should see the movie together.
No,
20 years later.
Cute.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Yeah,
I'm going with Eddie. He's the one who took me to see the musical for the first time ever.
Aw, so special. I hope it's good. So, guys, if you're still listening to this conversation, tune in when we discuss our thoughts on Wicked next week. And until then,
stay unoriginal.
And stay magical.